Technical skills get you in the door, but emotional intelligence determines whether you stay, whether you thrive, whether you build meaningful relationships and a life of genuine satisfaction. Your great-grandparents knew these truths instinctively. They understood delayed gratification, personal responsibility, the value of hard work, the necessity of managing emotions. Somewhere along the way, these lessons became less and less common. Young adults grew capable of coding and doing the Charlie Brown dance challenge but couldn't handle criticism. They could solve complex equations but couldn't manage their own anger. They knew facts but sometimes lacked wisdom. So sit back and relax for the next few minutes, and let's learn the internal skills that separate those who merely survive from those who truly flourish. Here are 9 ways to boost your emotional intelligence. Skill number 1. How to delay gratification and work toward long-term goals. The young adult stands in the store, holding a gaming console they've wanted for months. Their credit card could buy it right now, but they remember the goal taped to their mirror at home. Save $10,000 for a down payment by year's end. The console goes back on the shelf. They've learned that every purchase is a vote for the life they want. This vote would feel good for a week, but delay their real goal by months. Walking out empty-handed, they feel the strange pride of choosing future reward over present pleasure. Their parent had taught them that delayed gratification underlies almost every achievement. The daily workouts that eventually build strength, the nightly studying that compounds into expertise, the automatic savings transfers that grow into financial freedom. The young adult has built systems that make delay easier. Out of sight, out of mind. They deleted shopping apps from their phone. They made the delayed reward concrete. The down payment tracker updates weekly, showing progress. They created if-then rules. If I want to buy something over $50, then I wait 48 hours. Pre-commitment removes in-the-moment decision-making when willpower is weakest. They've discovered that immediate gratification often brings delayed pain, while delayed gratification brings delayed reward. And that perhaps the single greatest predictor of life success is this ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Skill number 2. How to practice gratitude and maintain perspective. The young adult scrolls through social media, watching friends post about promotions, vacations, new cars, perfect relationships. The comparison trap tightens around their chest. They're behind, inadequate, failing. Then they remember the practice their parent had insisted on. 3 specific gratitudes daily. They close the app and pull out their journal. I'm grateful my roommate covered my chores when I was sick this week. I'm grateful for the sunrise I actually noticed this morning. I'm grateful I have reliable transportation even if it's a decade-old car. The specificity matters. Generic gratitude feels hollow, but noticing concrete moments rewires attention. They've learned that their brain naturally scans for problems and deficits, an evolutionary holdover that no longer serves them. Gratitude practice counters this, training awareness toward what's working, what's present, what's good. The young adult has started comparing down occasionally instead of only comparing up. Billions of people would trade places with them instantly for clean water, food security, safety, and opportunity they take for granted. This isn't minimizing their real struggles, but perspective helps. They've discovered that what you focus on expands. Focus on lack, and you'll always feel lacking. Focus on appreciation, and you'll feel wealthier regardless of circumstances. The chronic dissatisfaction loosens its grip. Skill number 3. How to apologize sincerely and accept responsibility. The young adult sits across from their roommate, tension thick between them after a heated argument the night before. The parent had taught them that apologizing well separates mature adults from perpetual adolescence. They take a breath and begin. I'm sorry I accused you of taking my laptop charger without asking first. I was stressed about a deadline and made assumptions instead of just asking. That was unfair to you. No but follows, no justification, just acknowledgement, responsibility, and genuine remorse. Their roommate's shoulders relax. The young adult has learned that real apologies require vulnerability. Admitting fault creates discomfort, but that discomfort is appropriate. They've discovered that words like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "I'm sorry if I offended you," aren't apologies at all. They're defensive statements that make things worse. True apologies acknowledge specific harm, take complete ownership, express genuine regret, and commit to change. Most importantly, they understand that apologies without changed behavior are manipulation. That if you keep doing the same harmful thing while just apologizing afterward, your words become worthless. The young adult who can apologize genuinely and then actually modify their behavior has learned something that will strengthen every relationship in their life. Skill number 4, how to set and maintain healthy boundaries. The text message glows on the screen. Another request from a friend who constantly asks for favors but never reciprocates. The young adult feels the familiar pull of obligation, but then remembers what they'd learned. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential. They type back, "I can't help with that this weekend. I have other commitments." No long explanation, no apologizing for having limits. Just a clear, kind boundary. They've learned that no is a complete sentence, that over-explaining weakens boundaries and invites negotiation. When the friend pushes back with guilt-tripping, they don't waver. "I understand you're disappointed, but my answer stands." The young adult has discovered that healthy people respect boundaries while unhealthy people resist them, and that resistance reveals character. They've learned to identify boundary violations. People who guilt-trip, who dismiss your discomfort, who pressure you constantly. They practice boundaries in all areas, saying no to extra shifts when they're exhausted, declining social invitations without elaborate excuses, telling family members they won't discuss certain topics. The discomfort of setting boundaries has faded, replaced by the relief of having them. They've realized that people who truly care about them accept their boundaries, while those who don't were never really invested in mutual respect anyway. Skill number 5, how to manage stress and practice self-care. The young adult stares at their calendar, 3 exams next week, a work presentation, family obligations, a relationship that needs attention. Their chest tightens, sleep has been elusive, and irritability creeps into every interaction. They recognize these as stress signals their parent had taught them to identify early. Instead of powering through until breakdown, they intervene. 20 minutes on the treadmill burns off the cortisol flooding their system. Exercise isn't optional anymore, it's medicine. They practice the breathing technique. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, feeling their nervous system downshift from fight or flight. That evening, they break the overwhelming project list into manageable chunks, scheduling specific tasks instead of staring at an impossible mountain. They've learned that procrastination creates stress, while starting early creates peace, that trying to control uncontrollable outcomes fuels anxiety, while focusing on controllable actions brings calm. The young adult establishes a simple daily practice: 10 minutes of something purely for enjoyment, reading fiction, playing guitar, calling a friend. No productivity required. They've discovered that constant productivity leads to burnout, that rest isn't laziness, but necessary recovery. When the stress becomes too much, they do what their parent taught them: ask for help, recognizing that struggling alone isn't strength, but stubbornness. Skill number 6, how to handle criticism and feedback. The young adult's manager hands them a performance review with areas marked for improvement. Their first instinct is defensiveness, wanting to explain, justify, push back. But they pause, remembering what they'd learned about feedback being information, not attack. They take a breath and say, "Thank you for this feedback. Can you give me specific examples of where I can improve?" They've learned that criticism feels threatening because it challenges self-image. But that reaction is ego defending itself rather than wisdom seeking growth. As they read through the comments, they separate valid points from tone or delivery that might have stung. Not all criticism deserves acceptance. Some is projection or manipulation, but this comes from someone with expertise and good intentions. They ask clarifying questions, take notes, resist the urge to explain away every point. The young adult has discovered that people who defensively reject all criticism never improve, while those who welcome it, even when it hurts, become exceptional at what they pursue. They've learned that the discomfort of hearing hard truths is temporary, but the stagnation of refusing feedback is permanent. Later, they thank their manager again and outline specific steps they'll take to address the concerns, demonstrating that they didn't just hear the feedback, but intend to act on it. Skill number 7. How to build and maintain meaningful friendships. The young adult realizes they're lonely despite being constantly connected online. Hundreds of social media contacts, but no one to call in crisis. They remember their parents' words. Friendship requires intention, not just proximity. They start small, texting a college friend they'd lost touch with. Been thinking about you. Want to grab coffee this weekend? When they meet, the young adult does what they'd been taught, asks questions, and actually listens, remembers what their friend shares, follows up later about things that mattered. They've learned that people feel valued when you remember details about their lives, that friendship is built on consistent small actions, not occasional grand gestures. The young adult practices initiating instead of waiting to be invited, recognizing that passive people wonder why they have no friends while making zero effort. They show up reliably, doing what they say, arriving on time, keeping confidences. When conflict arises with another friend, they address it directly but kindly rather than avoiding it, discovering that friendships surviving conflict become deeper, while those avoiding it stay superficial. They've learned to identify healthy friendships, people happy for their successes rather than jealous, who tell hard truths kindly, who respect boundaries. And they've learned to distance from unhealthy ones. Relationships that are consistently one-sided, manipulative, or drain rather than energize. Quality over quantity. 5 genuine friends who actually know them beats 50 superficial acquaintances. Skill number 8. How to manage anger and resolve conflict. The young adult's face flushes, fists clenched, voice rising during an argument with their partner. They feel justified. They're right. The other person is wrong, and anger feels powerful. But they catch themselves, remembering what they'd learned. Anger makes you temporarily stupid, shutting down the thinking brain and activating fight or flight. They force themselves to pause. I need 10 minutes to cool down. Walking outside, they practice the calming breath their parent had taught them, feeling the adrenaline slowly metabolize. They've learned that anything said while flooded with anger will likely be regretted, that the pause isn't weakness, but wisdom. Calmer now, they identify what's underneath. Not just anger, but hurt, feeling disrespected, fear of not being heard. Anger is often a secondary emotion covering more vulnerable ones. Returning inside, they use I statements. I felt dismissed when you interrupted me earlier, rather than, you never listen and you're so disrespectful. One expresses their feeling, the other attacks and triggers defensiveness. They listen to their partner's perspective without interrupting, even when they disagree. The young adult has learned that conflict resolution requires both parties feeling heard, that looking for compromise means finding solutions addressing both people's needs. They've discovered that managing anger doesn't mean suppressing it. Suppressed anger becomes resentment or explosive outbursts, but feeling it, understanding it, expressing it appropriately, then letting it go. Skill number 9. How to develop self-discipline and consistency. The alarm sounds at 6 a.m. The young adult's hand reaches to hit snooze. They're tired, the bed is warm, the morning workout can wait until tomorrow. But they remember, discipline is doing what needs doing regardless of how you feel. They swing their legs out of bed, a decision made before motivation arrives. Their parent had taught them that motivation is fleeting, but discipline is enduring, that successful people aren't more motivated, they're more disciplined. The young adult has built systems that make discipline easier. They started absurdly small, just 5 push-ups daily, so small it felt silly to skip. Once the habit was automatic, intensity increased. They've learned about habit stacking. After morning coffee, 10 minutes of reading. After dinner, 30 minutes on their side project. Existing habits trigger new ones. Their environment supports good behaviors. Workout clothes laid out the night before, healthy snacks visible on the counter, phone charging in another room overnight. They track habits visually, X's on a calendar for each day completed, and follow the 2-day rule. Never skip 2 days in a row. 1 missed day is life happening. 2 consecutive days is a broken habit. The young adult has discovered that discipline isn't rigid adherence to punishing routines, but the freedom that comes from consistent small actions toward goals that matter, compounding over time into remarkable results. Self-compassion balances discipline. When they fail, they acknowledge it, forgive themselves, and resume immediately, rather than spiraling into self-criticism and quitting entirely. Thank you for watching the video. For more inspirational and self-development content like this, please subscribe to Asadi Dreams YouTube channel and be sure to hit the bell for notifications on any new videos as they roll out. Stay fortunate, my friends.